Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of 7-Minute AE Tutorials, where you learn tips, tricks, and shortcuts in 7 minutes or less. No BS, just AE. This episode is part 1 in a 2-part series. We'll be creating some really cool scribble and stroke text. We'll also go over converting text to shapes and masks, and when to use each method. Now in this episode, we're going to focus on the stroke part of the animation, as well as adding in some shape layer accents. You'll also learn how to use roughen edges to get a really cool pencil effect. In the next episode, we're going to focus on the scribble part of the animation, so make sure you return for part 2. Please like this video so I can make that YouTube algorithm happy. Share this episode and my channel with your fellow motion graphic designers so they can become After Effects rock stars just like us. And click the bell so that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. And please, leave me a message in the comments below and let me know if this episode helped you out. Sign up for my Udemy course, The Power of Shape Layers. It's a comprehensive course that covers literally every aspect of shape layers, and it's guaranteed to make you a shape layer wizard. The link to that course, as well as to the project files for this 2-part series, are in the description below. I've also included a table of contents so you can go back and rewatch sections that you found difficult. Okay, there's a lot to get through, so let's dive right in. Okay, so let's start off by creating a background. So we're going to go up to Layer, choose a new solid, and I'm going to make this like a darker kind of blue here. And we're just going to call this BG for background and click OK. Now let's create another solid, and this one needs to be white. And we're going to call this solid grid. Click OK. Now for our grid layer, let's go up to Effect, go down to Generate, and choose Grid. And we're going to make some changes to these settings. First, let's change our size from corner point to width and height sliders. We're going to make both of these values for width and height 50. Open up our border, make this border, we'll say 2. And we'll change our feathering to 2 on the width and the height. And now let's just highlight both of these. We go up to Layer, Recompose, and we're going to call this BG for background. Click OK. Okay, so let's create some text. So I'm going to grab my text tool here, create 2 text layers. First one is going to be Jeff Knight. Right click on this layer, go to Transform, Center, Anchor Point, and Layer Content. I'm just going to center this horizontally. The font I'm using is Gotham Ultra. For scribble text, it's really helpful to use a thicker kind of font. Okay, so now let's duplicate this layer, bring up our position, pull this underneath. I'm going to type 7-Minute AE Tutorials. And now I want to create some box text, which basically means I want to match the width of these text layers. And now I just want to kind of line this up a little bit so it looks a little bit better. Move that underneath. And if you're quotation marks, you can pull up your safe margins, and this kind of helps to line things up a little bit. And actually I want to pull this down a little bit further. Okay, so before we get into actually creating the scribble text, I want to add in some accent lines around the name Jeff Knight. Let's go up to Layer, New, Shape Layer, and then let's just add in a path. And I'm going to draw some lines around my name. I'm just going to draw some shapes here, and I'm going to go ahead and add in a stroke. It defaults to white and 2 pixels, so I'm going to change this to 1 pixel, but I'm going to leave it white. And if you click away, you can see there's your stroke. So now to add more paths in, there are a few ways you can do this. I like to just duplicate my path, and then I can pull the edges over, and I can create more of these. So duplicate that again, and pull your path around. So see, I'm just kind of putting in some random lines here, just something that looks kind of cool. So when this draws on, it'll look kind of like this was mapped out before we typed in our text. One above the K like this. Maybe I'll go down here underneath the NIG, over here to the H, maybe around our T a little bit, something like this. And now what might be kind of cool is if we put in some curved lines. So we actually probably need to add in another path. So let's go to Add Path. I'm going to draw a curved line over my G. So you can reshape this once you add in the path. And again, these don't have to be perfect. It's just something that looks kind of like it was written in here. Let me see, I may do one more over here by my J. So I'm going to Add Path. I'm going to draw a curved one around my J. You get these handles. If you drag and click as you make these vertices. So we have these lines in there like this. And actually, let's go back into our background layer here. Click on Grid, and I'm going to make my border actually 1 instead of 2 because it's a little bit thick. It's kind of covering up some of our lines. Let's just make this 0.5. Rename this layer here Accents. And we'll come back to this accents layer here in just a little bit and add in a few effects to kind of give it more of a pencil kind of look. But for now, I want to focus on our text. We'll be adding in a stroke and a scribble. Let's focus on this Jeff layer right here. I want to duplicate this, and I just want to show one layer. Double click on this Jeff Knight layer. As we can see in our character control panel, we have this solid selected, but not a stroke. Well, I want to select a stroke only. So the way you do that is with solid selected. Just click this button right here and you'll see it says no fill color. So now we have a stroke. Now it's going to fill in the color of the last stroke you used. So let's change this to white and I want to make this 3 pixels. We still have our Jeff Knight with our fill, so we're going to have 2 layers of text for each one of these for this effect. So let's go back to 7-minute AE tutorials, and again, we're going to duplicate that layer, show just one of them, double click, and again, we're going to go to our fill, choose no fill color, change this to white, and again, we want to do 3 pixels. Okay, so let's take each line at a time. To draw on a stroke, we want to convert our text to shape layers. So right click on your text layer, go down to create, and we're going to choose shapes from text. And as you can see, this creates a shape layer. Each letter is in its own group, and each group is even named based on the letter that it represents. All we have to do is click our add button, choose trim paths, put a keyframe for end, move that forward. We'll say about 2 seconds, and then set the first keyframe down to 0. See how every letter is drawing on at the same time? Because this is set to simultaneously. We're going to change that to individually. So this will draw on a stroke for each group individually based on the order. As you can see, it draws everything on. Now see, I want my J to start up here in the corner. There's a path inside of this J. Zoom in here. All these letters have vertices already created for them. Right click on this top left vertex here. Go to mask and shape path and set this to our first vertex. This is the first vertex of the animation now. So see, now it draws on based on our first vertex. You can click this reverse path direction and it will draw it on in the opposite direction. Now, if you want to change this for every letter, you have to go into each group and then choose reverse path. I'm just going to do it just for the J, just mainly to show you that that's an option that you do have. Okay, so we're just going to solo this 7-minute AE tutorials layer. Right click, choose create shapes from text. This layer has every letter in its own group. Contents, trim paths. The reason why you want to highlight contents is because if you highlight one of these groups, say for example, if I highlighted this 7 group here and I added in trim paths, it's going to go inside of that group. So whenever you want to add something like a trim path or like a repeater to the entire animation, just make sure you have contents highlighted. And again, we want to open up our trim paths now and let's put a keyframe for end and it defaults to 100%. So we're going to go forward 2 seconds and then we're going to move that keyframe there. And then we're going to go back to the very beginning and we're going to make that value 0. We can see how the animation defaults to trimming our multiple shapes simultaneously. Change that to individually. And again, I want my animation to begin at a specific point. So I'm going to open up my 7 group here. I'm going to right click on this vertex right here, choose mask and shape path and set first vertex. So that way our animation will begin from there. Reverse the path direction. Show both of our shape layers. We can see how these are going to animate on. And so we want to offset these a little bit, maybe 15 frames and move our 7-minute tutorials. If you hit your left bracket, it will move the layer over. And that does it for the first part of this series. The main focus was on creating the stroke part of our scribble animation by converting our text to shapes, adding in a trim paths, setting trim multiple paths to individually, then animating the trim paths with 2 keyframes on the end percentage from 0 to 100%. We also created some shape layer path accents, but we still need to add an effect to get that pencil look, which we'll do next time. Also in the next part of this series, we'll learn how to create the main scribble part of our animation. So make sure you come back for part 2. You won't want to miss it. I hope this tutorial helped you out. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And click the bell so that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. Please share this episode and my channel with your fellow motion graphic designers so they can become After Effects rock stars just like us. And please leave me a message in the comments below and let me know if this tutorial helped you out. Hopefully you learned something new and useful. Sign up for my Udemy course, The Power of Shape Layers. It's a comprehensive course that covers literally every aspect of shape layers, and it's guaranteed to make you a shape layer master. The link to that course, as well as to the project files for this 2-part series, are in the description below. And don't forget to come back next week for part 2 of this scribble and stroke animation tutorial. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.